Ready? Yeah. Camera switched on. Watches set to 0. 3, 2, 1, go!
It's vibrant. Oh, look at this. Oh my God.
This is it. Oh my God. Let's go. Come on, this way. This way.
Night shot. On.
Hey! Does anybody want to kiss a rabbit?
Is there any reason to fight?
Brothers and sisters of Gastown, you deserve to live your lives like the movies!
I hear they always do wild and crazy things, so while we were waiting for them for a while to get out of their car, I think they were getting out of their clothes.
That's the Gob Squad. They hail from Germany and the UK, and created tonight's opening film just 1 hour before it aired.
I'm just going to do a quick review of the calendar, make sure that things are on track per our timeline. Volunteers are all scheduled. Alba, everybody's, and obviously we had the orientation last night, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
I've always appreciated that a majority of the work that we present, artists could watch and go, you know, I had that idea and I thought it was crazy. We've always wanted to bring in work that didn't feel like that the audience and artists were being teased with something they could never afford to do, never conceive of doing, never technically achieve at doing. And Gob Squad is complete high concept, low tech. Gob Squad is a company that is made up of both British, English, and German artists who have a bit of a foothold in England, but for the most part live in Germany, and very generous artists. We have a policy, no assholes allowed, and they're not. They're extraordinary guys to bring into a community and to introduce.
Working collaboratively and as a collective without the hierarchy that comes from working with a director, that was the motivation for actually starting Gob Squad 20 years ago. And it came from a political perspective. And that's never gone.
Who is the secret leader of the team?
And the hours and hours and hours of meetings and consensus and, you know, checking that everything is fair and in place and the structures which we have to build along that. In some ways, the greatest work of art we've ever made is Gob Squad. And I'm really proud of the fact that we have been working as a collective for 20 years and we still really like each other. You know, I mean, I think that is the biggest testament we could ever have, really.
So for the 10th anniversary festival, which is this year, we have chosen to present an evening, a gala evening at the Vancouver Playhouse. We've also chosen to present a show called Super Night Shot, which is by Gob Squad. Super Night Shot I like to describe as a parlor trick of monstrous risk. It's the type of thing that could fail at any moment. It's the kind of thing that makes people giggle with kind of delight. And it's, in some ways, like many of the works in the festival, really difficult to describe.
So Super Night Shot is an instant film.
It's kind of like a documentary, fantasy, action, romantic Hollywood film mashup, which is nevertheless unique to that particular time and place where it's filmed in.
There's 4 of us, and we each have a camera, and 1 hour before the audience arrive, we set all of those cameras running, synchronized with watches, and embark on an adventure out onto the streets.
We declare war on anonymity, and we declare loneliness as our enemy. And as a result of that, we have a kind of manifesto where we're going to bring a big moment of passion, liberation and emotion to the city.
The cameras can't stop, they have to keep rolling no matter what happens. And then towards the end of the film, we rendezvous again, hopefully back to the theatre to then greet the audience who are waiting to see the show.
And then we go into the theatre with our cameras, we press stop, we press rewind, we give the cameras to the technician, and the technician, once all the audience has then come in, sync up the cameras, press play, and then that's the first time that all of us see what happened on that journey, and then it unfolds before our very eyes, as it were.
Impressions of Vancouver, it's like Manchester, it rains all the time. I mean, I don't know if it really does rain all the time, but I've been here 48 hours and it's raining.
People seem very friendly here, so I'm hopeful. One of the things that I haven't even been here 24 hours yet, but there seems to be quite a sort of split between the homeless people that are sleeping in doorways and the rest of the life of the city.
There's a very definite have and have not in Gastown anyway, where we're working. There's a lot of street homelessness and a lot of mental health problems and a lot of cool and groovy furniture shops all hanging out together.
It's an incredible dichotomy between, this real sort of like trendy, studenty places and then so many people who are obviously street homeless, and it felt like there's a story to be told here.
We're on the West Coast. We're a frontier pioneer town. It's the best way to understand the culture out here. And so isolation, provincialism are real tendencies that we should work very much to fight against. To welcome people from elsewhere, to be interested in people from elsewhere, to not be afraid of change and not be stuck in a kind of levelness of riches or poverty or such, but in fact actually imagine a different future than that currently exists. And the festival has been trying to work very much in that kind of way.
Does PuSh have an aesthetic? Does PuSh have an aesthetic?
It's a good question.
I think it's changed in the last few years. I don't know, last year, I think it changed enormously this year.
But do you think, wouldn't you say that it's really married to Norman's aesthetic?
Norman really likes to take pieces that will really challenge us. And sometimes I even wonder if he likes all the things that he programs, or if he's just trying to be provocative.
Well, do you like all the things you program?
No.
See, I think that goes with the job.
One of our colleagues on the board talked about PuSh engaging and enraging.
Engaging and enraging, that's something that art should do all the time.
Absolutely.
It's not necessarily about programming hits, it's as much about the conversation that comes out of the work.
It's this edgy thing that is not necessarily edgy in an unpleasant sort of way. It is attractive, it's alluring, you jump with full desire to be immersed and you feel safe.
PuSh always talks about surprises and this theme of crossing the border, stepping over the edge. Yes, there's that of course, but people want that risk because they're confident that they can take it and get something out of it.
Because of the way we work, we're not constantly touring with this show. We have quite a lot of shows that are in repertoire, in our repertoire, in the Gob Squad repertoire. And sometimes we might be, have come from a rehearsal phase of a new production, or we might have been on tour with a different show. And you arrive in a city and you have to refocus to this performance and this mission, as it were, and sort of get back into the headspace of it, remember what we do. And the other thing that's really important is to work out the timings and the light and get a sort of feel for the city and the sort of snapshot of what we encounter. We need that dress rehearsal to sort of refocus.
Sometimes the dress rehearsal throws things up that don't happen on the night, The playback on the dress rehearsal night is often a bit messy. There's timing problems.
Night shot on.
The lighting's sometimes strange, and people sometimes forget what they're doing and they have to talk to themselves, or they're looking at their stopwatches. So all the finesse of it is not part of the dress rehearsal.
It's a scary enough show anyway, and it just gives you the confidence when you do the real show that you know you've got some touchstones.
We each have a role to play. There's a hero. Someone over here. Maybe he needs my help. There's a casting agent that has to find someone for the hero to kiss at the end of the film, because heroes always get kisses.
Do you want to be in the film?
No, I'm already in the film.
You are in the film, but do you want to be at the end of the film?
There's a location scout to find the perfect location for that kiss to take place.
It's all street and crazy and dirty and urban.
And there is a PR agent who is there to promote the cause of the film.
And the hero just goes up to people and says,
I'm a hero in a film. The movie's just started. Okay, so how can I help you?
And just the range of answers that we get, you know, sometimes it's something very serious, like we've had people who say, I haven't got permission to be in this country. I'm an illegal immigrant, can you help me? But sometimes people just say things like, I've just bought these shelves from IKEA and I don't know how the hell to put them up. Can you help me? Can you sort that out?
So it can be at turns frivolous and hilarious, and at other turns very revealing about a place in a way that isn't offensive or too didactic. It's just reflective.
God, well, we've had a few gigs where people have had their camera stolen, people have been pushed over, we've been chased by the French riot police.
For example, in Milan, we were stopped by the police filming the final scenes, and the police came into the film because we left the cameras running. They then insisted we stop the cameras. We finally got the festival director to come down to the square, and he then got the police to leave us, and we finished the film. But in the playback, the audience saw the police, which was sort of plainclothes police in a public square. Then they saw them reacting, and they noticed the police bring a van in, and the police got out of the van, and then we had to shut the film down. But they were so furious because it showed they were so aware of this oppressive police system in the centre of Milan. So it's great that it is a portrait of that city that night, and it can expose very interesting things about a place.
One thing that we notice when we do Super Night Shot, you know, we walk out there on the streets and, you know, and we're trying to talk to people. And 90% of the people, you know, you're not going to get a positive answer out of them. They're just going from A to B. And one of the things that we really had to sort of learn how to do is just to sort of slow down and develop a sixth sense for the 10% of people who are going to be open-minded and who are going to want to talk to you. There's always those people there, you know, in any city you go to. What's your name?
My name is Tony.
Tony.
Yeah.
Hello. Tony, Korean student, and we had some quite interesting conversations about love and the realisticness or not of the romantic ideal. We had some quite nice conversations about that.
Are you in love at the moment?
Yes, I love in my country.
Yeah.
She was. I think she was the one of my life.
Really?
Yeah.
But she didn't feel the same way.
Yes. When I went here, we broke away.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to find you a new love tonight, Tony.
Oh.
Don't worry about that.
You know, a company that comes into town, you know, with a kind of, not exactly a script, but instructions of tasks to create this piece.
That's ridiculous. Getting way better.
And they do it in multiple cities, and it's the same script, but it's different in each city. And what's beautiful about it is the way in which it allows the participants, the audience members, to see the place that they're from in a different way.
It's great to have an outside eye and see what will happen in an experiment with that, where strangers from elsewhere are just having a conversation, or trying to, in a place that's supposedly socially cold, and it's hard to meet people. Right?
3, 2, 1, action! Oh my God! Oh, it looks like a Gastown citizen has fallen. Let me just go and see what's wrong. Hey, are you hurt, my friend? Are you hurt?
Yes.
Where does it hurt? Show me where it hurts.
Right here on my head.
Oh my God. I've got
in something
just
like
this
Super Night Shot, especially for the natives of that city, people who wander around their home, daily life becomes invisible. It becomes invisible to all of us. The faces, the buildings, the people that maybe you pass every day. You see it so many times that you stop seeing it, in fact. And just a kind of simple insertion and a frame of a camera and a lunatic with a camera running around claiming to be a hero, suddenly everything's refreshed, and you realise that the man that you saw at the bus stop every day, who you never spoke to before, actually is really interesting.
Do you always sit on this corner?
No, I sit other places too. Because I just live in a shelter down here, but it's a mat shelter where you line up at like 9 o'clock so they'll feed you.
Right.
So basically I gotta find ways to feed myself throughout the day.
And do you always manage to find something in the day, or?
Yeah, usually always manage, right? Like, I haven't been in this wheelchair very long, right?
What happened?
I got hit by a train. Well, I got hit by a car, and then after the car hit me, I got up and I collapsed on the train track. The train came and crushed me.
When did that happen?
This next month will be 2 years.
2 years.
I'm always amazed how people engage with us. I find it so heartwarming in a way. Those encounters that we experience in daily life aren't always about longevity. All of those people that you meet randomly in day to day, sometimes they can be really special moments, and sometimes you can step over them and you can ignore those people, and then you realise how important it is not to. And I think there are some people who live in big built-up cities. They are the moments of contact that they get.
And I think that as a foreigner coming in, you're allowed to blunder around the city in a way that you couldn't do it if you were from Vancouver. You just have a naivety that you wander into these spaces.
You have a toonie maybe?
A what?
A toonie.
What's a toonie?
For example, in India when we did it, people were saying you'll never get, someone to do a public kiss. It's going to be too weird, or you'll never get a man to kiss another man in the street. And then both nights we went out, and that's exactly what happened.
It still excites me to see it. I'm still really nervous before the show, because we never know exactly what the city's going to give us. You never know what people are going to say, what they're going to do, but they never get it wrong. They never get it wrong.
At a certain point, I brought this idea up with Norman. This is how I remember it, Norman. Okay, I brought up the idea with, I said, we should do a festival. And Norman said, oh, no. We were on the phone. That's what I remember.
We used to joke, we avoided using the F word for a couple of years, festival word, because that was going to suddenly say, okay, well, what is people's idea of what a festival is, and what scale does it need to be, and the number of people, and all of that. And a big part of actually is that Vancouver's a really notoriously tough place to get things going. Belief and faith is everything. That's the currency. So we were trying to protect that by not setting ourselves up to perhaps be considered to be a failure right off the top, to in a much more contained and confined way.
At the time, I really felt there was a great lack of movement of work around this country. There was a real sense that everybody was working in their regions and very little work was moving from place to place. There was this real need for a larger container for this kind of movement and exposure to work from outside our region.
Somehow I think that things sort of atrophied a bit in the 80s when we had a bit of a recession, and there was just far less touring going on across the country, internationally. So PuSh was there to bring that back into our awareness, and to me the most exciting part of the first few festivals was to be able to see our own small emerging companies start to meet and eventually collaborate with some of these international artists.
And I think that PuSh is one of our really great international connections, that the people coming through here are really from all over, and it helps to feel like you're part of the all over instead of being a very small young community on the edge of the world.
And it's fantastic. I can't fly to Munich and Paris and London at the drop of a hat or at the drop of many hats. I don't get to travel like that. And so just opens up our scene incredibly.
Well, I think Vancouver was very isolated in terms of the amount of work that came to Vancouver from other countries and the rest of Canada. And so it filled a gap. And the idea of a winter festival was really key as well.
I mean, it's dreary and gray and awful kind of in Vancouver, although this year we were blessed with actually quite lovely weather. But normally it's awful. And it's exciting enough to get people out of the house, which if you are a Vancouverite, you know can be quite difficult in those awful dreary days.
For my money, I think the smartest thing that Norman Armour and Katrina Dunn did when they founded the Performance Series in 2003 was to put it in January. Because this is a great city for festivals in the summer. From the beginning of November to the end of March, it is a wasteland. There's stuff happening, but there isn't an anchor point that attracts a large, kind of consistent group of people to it, and then disseminates that back out in the world.
And the idea of having a multidisciplinary festival has changed the perception of all the separate audiences. They've gone to see something they really liked, and now they're going, well, here's something else that's happening in this festival that I would never go see. And Norman is very big of, what's kind of one of the things he's often in his curtain speeches is, do something you really want to see and then take a chance. Go see something you never would. And it's changing the way the audience in Vancouver views the arts.
PuSh is also, I think it's influenced how we think about the value of the work. The work is, and I mean this in the most positive way, and we can cut it if it doesn't really matter, but I think the work, there's also a commodification that has happened to the work that didn't exist in the past. So when we make a piece, you start to think about how can you sell it? What is the value? Does it speak to a larger audience?
PuSh has forced our hand a little bit, which I really appreciate, because it's like, it's not good enough to just kind of go, oh, okay, this is fine, like people will think it's fine, but it's like, no, like we have to solve what is the problem or what is the question at the heart of this thing, because we're seeing work all the time that has a deep and rigorously examined questions at the heart of it.
There was a safety net in our obscurity. Yeah. I think you could make whatever you wanted. It lasted for 10 days and it was never seen again. Now it's raised the game in terms of what you make, how you make it, and how it's presented.
And I would say it's commodification, but with the intention of the work still intact. What PuSh has allowed is the commodification, still with the ability to make the kind of work we want to make.
I think the festival has grown to occupy various spaces in the city that I think deserve to be occupied with contemporary arts. Whenever there has been an opportunity to load up the value or the meaning of a presentation with some historical element, this idea of place and history, we've tried to take advantage of that. And with the death of the Vancouver Playhouse Theatre Company a couple of years ago, after 49 years, is still, a very, very emotional thing in this city. It's the loss of a prestigious regional theater. It was loss of a brand, you know, a real institution. So to go into the Playhouse for the first time as a festival and to carry off a work of this kind of energy and celebration and gall as part of a kind of celebration of the beginning 10 years and a kind of mark that this is the end of a life cycle and the beginning of the next 10 years, to us was an opportunity that seemed too much to kind of pass up.
Here's the thing. The Gob Squad need a hero's welcome from you. Yes, exactly. We need about 100 people to go outside and line up in a corridor fashion. We will give you sparklers and matches, and you go outside and give them a hero's welcome. For those of you inside,
Watches. This is Super Night Shot. 3, 2, 1, go.
Action! Hello, we are Gob Squad, and this is Super Night Shot. Thank you for that fantastic welcome. I only hope that we deserved it.
We are going out onto the streets of Vancouver to change the world.
Right on!
In the war on anonymity, our choice of weapon is the video camera. Standard issue Sony HC96. The streets will be our film set, the cigarette butts and litter, our props, and passers-by, the extras. We will do our best to complete our mission with a great moment of emotion, passion, and liberation. We've got 55 minutes left. Let's make this movie! Come on!
But tonight was great. The people I came across were friendly and unpredictable. I got thrown out of the Flying Pig, which was also great. When I went into the restaurant, the Flying Pig, on the first night, it was on the dress rehearsal. It was very cool. The maitre d' was groovy.
You want it. When Simon gets here, the hero for Gastown, he's on his way.
When I gave the announcement that the hero was coming, and everyone clapped. And then on the show night, I went in, and the maitre d' was having none of it, came straight up to me, said, no, 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 sorry, thank you, and pulled me out of the restaurant and threw me out on the street. But that was better, actually, for the show, for the playback.
Here we are in Vancouver City, the land of the young and the brave and the pretty. I'm ready, I'm steady, I'm doing PR. This is the city that'll make you a star. Yo, yo!
Well, my name's John. What's yours?
Hey Dan, my name's Simon.
Have you ever been homeless?
No, not really. Because the Gastown is like, it's quite unique. It's really on the cusp of something because it's clearly in a process of gentrification. But what's quite unusual is that you still have they haven't sort of done the New York Giuliani thing where they've cleared the undesirable characters of capitalism away. So it's strange that you've got people on their way to yoga and people with no legs who are like in some completely other dimension, and they are they're rubbing shoulders with each other.
I'm an expert. I'm actually a doctor. I really am a doctor.
You really are a doctor?
I really am a doctor. Yes,
so you really help people?
I do help people.
Wow, what kind of doctor are you?
I'm a doctor of, I have a doctor of literarium, which means I can speak circles around you. You can ask me a question, I'll talk for an hour. If you want to know even more about it, I'll talk for 2 hours. And if you don't want to know anything about it, I'll talk for a week.
Wow, I like that. That sounds
well,
quite good.
I kept waiting
as I watched this, to see someone I knew. I was hoping it wouldn't be, you know, somebody from high school who'd fallen on hard times necessarily. And when the Doctor of Literature arrived in the film, I thought, I know that person. Who is that person? And in fact, I do know that person, and so do many others here. He is the most esteemed Hugh Fraser, leader of the Vancouver Ensemble of Jazz Improvisation, music teacher and band leader extraordinaire. And so it's no surprise that he should do so well in a project that depended upon improvisation.
The Doctor character that I met halfway through, we had a 4-minute conversation in which he offered me the challenge to accumulate money and then distribute the money in a way which I thought was appropriate.
Well, we're living in a capitalist thing. I work in Cuba a lot where money isn't needed because the government looks after you. We're living in a capitalistic scheme here, and my bottom line is that unless you speak the language here and have money, it doesn't work. You can't do anything. So you're up against it. If you
get money and then give it away?
Yes.
That was a gift in a way, because I was then in a situation in a neighborhood where there's lots of people asking you for money. I became one of those people. Jessica's given me $2. Have you got any ideas about where I could do something good with this $2?
Get yourself a coffee.
No, it's not for me. I have to be heroic.
Oh, okay.
But then I also became a person giving away money. And that role immediately talks about things, you know.
Give it to me.
Will you do something good with it?
Yeah.
What will you do?
Buy a beer maybe? No, we'll go to Amy or something. Get something to eat. Come on, just give me $2.
Okay, here it goes.
Okay then. Okay.
And then, you know, and how, because I think the project is about a microcosm. You know, you've got the whole world, the whole of eternity, but in actually one time and one space, and then sort of, so it came back to that coin and that shot where it goes into the cup.
Okay then.
And we don't know what he's going to do with it.
Well, I think the show in itself is celebratory in a way because, well, it's a war on anonymity, right? And you know, that was sort of, that's the through line in the piece for me, is let's go out into the street and let's engage. Let's talk to one another. And in a way, only strangers maybe can. So it's that experience of somebody from outside looking at us, and then we're looking at them looking at us, right? But I also found the show to be really about a lot of things that I think we all think about and struggle with. How to be a hero in our own lives, how to give things away, how to love, where to have a perfect kiss, where to have a perfect romance. You know, they were working some big themes in a very funny way.
Do you know what? It's a particularly lonely and nerve-wracking task in Super Night Shot to be the one finding the kiss. I mean, I started off trying to find the right person, someone who's romantic, open to adventure. I wanted to, you know, have conversations with them. Hi there. Hello. I've been sent on to you. Listen, I've been looking for you, okay?
I don't like being second choice. I heard you already say that.
By the end, I was ready to pick anybody. Anybody who would say yes. Yeah, so I was pretty pleased that I think with, 4 minutes to go, I found Rodrigo. Are you ready to come on an adventure, a once-in-a-lifetime moment of film by kissing the rabbit?
Yes, I'm ready.
Oh my God! He said yes! This is incredible! He said yes! Yeah! Okay, great! So just
It actually never ceases to amaze me that that people do say yes.
Yeah.
Every time I watch it, even though I know that someone did because I've seen it already, it's this sort of thing of like, would I do that? Would I say yes? Would I have had that? Would I have had that opportunity? Would I have missed that?
And the fact that these people wander into this scene and kiss a complete stranger for what feels like an eternity when you're taking the cameras around them, and they stay there in this pose, it's a leap of faith. I think that's why it connects, because people are they are proud of that person for taking that leap. You heard it in the auditorium when they saw Rodrigo.
My name is Rodrigo. I was just walking, actually, nothing to do at all. And a guy appears of nothing and asked me to kiss a rabbit. So I accept. I was on a show that I wouldn't never imagine. The night becomes the best night ever, the best vacations ever.
Super Night Shot is trying to sort of disrupt the flow of everyday life. You know, we can all very happily fill up our lives, you know, doing our household chores, going to work, you know, socializing in the ways that we're all used to. And Super Night Shot tries to open up 1 hour of time where the rules are slightly different, to dance with a stranger, kiss a stranger, or open your heart to a stranger within the frame of a game or an artistic endeavor. I think is a really special thing.
Why are the performing arts essential to Vancouver? Because there are people like me who don't ski in January. You have this state image of sitting in an audience and watching actors performing, but it's more than that. If you come to a PuSh show, you know that it isn't just that interaction from the audience to the stage. It's, you know, between audience members and with the staff afterwards in the lobby and talking to the artists in casual settings, and it is about building those relationships. So yeah, the performing arts gives you those opportunities to connect to people.
Well, I think the arts sustain us. Artists, in that, going back to Plato and his bias against artists and kicking them out of his republic, they are the gadflies of our society. They pick up on issues and they reflect them back to us before we even know why they're important.
We've survived for billions of years because of stories. And somebody said recently, the reason the performing arts are so important is because, well, partly we've never seen anything take so long to die. And everyone's always saying the theater's dying, but it's sure taking a hell of a long time to do that.
I think the performing arts are important because they are a primary need. It's a core need that we have. I don't really think it will ever be replaced by reproduced mediums. It may be eclipsed for periods of time, but it is a primary human need.
You know, I need performance because it's something I've been doing all my life, and I can't really function in a healthy manner without it, I don't think. But I think another characteristic of the PuSh Festival over the last few years has been dealing quite explicitly with issues of citizenship, urbanization, what the city is, what does it mean to live in a city? Does a concept like citizen mean anything? What does it mean?
And especially, I think, in a multicultural and multi-diverse community such as Vancouver, it's so important to keep opening as many doors as possible to imagination, to dialogue, to different perspectives, different viewpoints, and seek and rediscover ourselves in addition to discovering the world. That openness to the world, and yet being okay with our locale and locality.
You do create a narrative, I think. You tend to create a narrative about who you are and where you live. And I think performance helps you examine that. You get a feel for where you live, you get a feel for who you are. You create who you are in those performances.
I think we're all performing every day. We're all performing ourselves. The act of being in a city, how we choose to live our lives, how we communicate with each other, is something that we all do, whether or not very consciously. And I think performing artists are really dealing with an incredible territory of human connection. I think that it's something that can't be replicated in any other media, and it's always changing. It's an ancient form, but also very modern.
We learn to tie our shoes through stories. We learn to make fire through stories. We learn how to drive a car through stories. Everything in our lives is about narrative. So for this fledgling little city, there's theaters in Europe that are older than our entire city. For us to move forward as a city, we need to keep on telling our stories.
It's not like, well, there's a story out there of what Vancouver is, and I slot into it. It's like, no, you're creating that narrative as you go to performance after performance after performance, and you do that with your fellow citizens.
The way in which the performing arts, the live performing arts in our multimedia digital age, force us to come together in a space and interact with one another and with the work that's on stage. That's quite powerful, and those affective moments that you can't really capture in indices and measurables, there is something that's really powerful and really important.
It's so easy to stay at home and still be entertained and engaged, and I think all that stuff is amazing and futuristic and valid, but there is something that happens when you get a bunch of people in a room attempting to be together in some way, or being divided. I think we have a responsibility to remind people that it is still fun to go out, and it's still good for the brain.
That interaction between art and audience creates people who are interested in things, are interested in ideas, are interested in topics. And by extension, when they leave the space of the theatre, the auditorium, the art gallery, the art museum, hopefully they take something with them whereby they see their immediate surroundings in a different way and are thereby interested in those surroundings and the possibility of those surroundings changing for the better, for the larger good.
Whatever happens at the PuSh Festival, for me, the unifying factor is that it changes the way I think. It makes me start to see differently, it makes me start to hear differently. And that is what I want from art.
I guess, why is live performance important anymore anyways? That's what we're all sometimes confronted with. And I think definitely in this age of images and age of controversy and age of voices trying to be heard, I'm still impacted, even though sometimes I hate myself when I go to theater, because I kind of go, oh, I'm going to forget this and not worry about it anymore. And then I go, and then I just, you just kind of fall in love again. It's like a first love that you can't quite get over. So I think the impact of humanity, like just that ability to be steps away from somebody else, experiencing something else that you would never get on TV in the same way it makes you rich, it makes you a richer person.
I always thought theatre was great at getting at the cost of something, the cost of things. The notion of a live thing is the event. And to experience an event, to witness an event, to be a part of an event, to play into the idea of the stakes of an event, is to understand something about human cost. Whether it's love, whether it's revolution, whether it's aging, whether it's children, whether it's betrayal, whether it's political ambition or aspiration. The act of live performance, the moment of live performance, has this potential to explore and reflect upon contemporary experience and what we're going through and such. And I think the festival is relevant for that kind of reason alone.
The war on anonymity is an ongoing struggle for which we must all take to arms. Join us, and remember, without the banal, there can be nothing remarkable. 3, 2, 1, cut.